Hello, this is Julie Buffano, co-founder of Revival on Main here downtown Montgomery, Minnesota. We are giving a bonus session to our 12 days to check your heritage. We've got Ann Jans and Alanka here to give us a Kroj 101 session. And I'm so excited because I've learned so much in just getting ready for this session that I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. So we're actually coming live, actually not live, but we're coming to you from the check-in, which is our bridal suite above the Rustic Farmer, which is part of course, our newest project, which is Revival on Main. So here with some Kroj 101 is Ann and Alanka. Take it away.
All right. So the way Kroj has been explained to me is that you used to be able to tell where a person was from based on what they were wearing. So it might have been the embroidery pattern, the color of the embroidery, the beads that were used, that would tell maybe a specific village. And now I think even in the Czech Republic they would say that they could tell maybe by region but not necessarily by village. That part of it has been lost a little bit. But I have a map here that will highlight all the different, I shouldn't say all of them, but many of the different regions of the Czech Republic. And so we have Bohemia on the left-hand side, and then this is the Moravian side over here. And so lots of different, and then Slovakia has their own sets as well. And it's really pretty interesting when you start looking at all of these different areas. So even within South Bohemia here, there are several different Kroje that are found. So we have where a lot of Montgomery comes from is the Blata region. So Blata is from south of Tabor to north of České Budějovice. And then we also have the Kozácko region, which is around Tabor and then up towards Prague as well, and a little bit east and west. So then you have the Prague region, central Bohemia as well. And from there, then if you go out into the western area, you'll see some kind of near Strakonice and Protovin and Písek, so that's the Kroje that I'm wearing. And then you also get into the Chudsko region in Pilsen, and I know there are some people from Montgomery that are out that way as well, but the majority come from the South Bohemian region here.
You know, I should have asked you, Ann and Alanka, just to start, being the honorary Czech that I am, what does Kroj, I mean, I use the word as though I know what it means, but what's the, what does Kroj mean? And anything else you might want to say about that?
Right. Kroj is actually the ethnic dress. So I know sometimes people use it interchangeably with the word costume, but I don't think that that is really truly an accurate description for the word Kroj. It's really the ethnic dress that the people of Old Bohemia, Moravia, Silesia, Slovakia would have wore. And sometimes you'll hear people say the word Kroje. Kroje just means multiple or more than one Kroj.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like when we say kolach and kolachki. Kolach is
sure.
one, kolachki is many.
Makes
Kroj
sense.
Is one. Kroje is multiple.
Okay.
And so the Kroj that I'm wearing is from like the Písek area. And so pretty simplified with a solid color skirt with a little trim at the bottom. Of course, petticoats underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And then they always wore the red stockings with this. The white on white embroidered apron. And then it has a very fitted vest, more of the racer back style.
Oh yes, I want to zoom in on this. There's so much detail.
The embroidery, right, that's in that too, and the trim, right.
Okay.
And the blouse that I'm wearing is from there as well. And the blouses actually are different than American blouses. They do not have set-in sleeves. So this is actually made using squares and rectangles. So a little bit different. And actually for their skirts too, they would have just taken several meters of fabric and gathered them together and sewn them most of the way up the front as well. And so I can show that on the Blata Kroj. So again, the Blata Kroj, this is actually from Bohemia. This is about 75 years old and comes specifically from, again, that region, south of Tabor, north of České Budějovice, all the way over to like Jindřichův Hradec and a little further west then as well. And so This one, again, would have had a petticoat underneath also, but this is a wool skirt. And then the rickrack at the bottom is known as houndstooth. That's to keep evil spirits from creeping into the soul.
Okay.
And then the trim on here, it's always so interesting. Because it was always covered by an apron, the trim in most skirts does not go all the way around.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Why waste
Yeah, fabric.
the trim in the fabric when it's not needed? And so generally they're very heavily gathered as well. And then because they were made to fit throughout a lifetime, they aren't finished in the center front as well. And that's so that it can grow throughout a lifetime. So they would start making these, I mean, if we're going back, centuries ago, they would have made them in their teens. And so
we don't have to worry about eating one too many
most of us
kolache.
were a little smaller in our teens and into adulthood. And so then the apron here too. So this particular apron for the Blata region has the white embroidery, it has the beads, and then the flat sequins that are known as flitters. And with the beadwork and the flitters, then they would have used a scallop bottom vest. If they, in this region, if they would have, similar to Alenka's, where it has embroidery but no beadwork and no sequins, then the vest gets tucked in. So again, I learned that. I went to the Sobieslav Museum, and they have a pretty extensive Kroj display in there too that shows all the different styles as well, and had a private tour with the curator, and she explained everything.
Where is that museum?
So Sobieslav is in South Bohemia,
Okay.
in Czech Republic, and wonderful ethnographical museum.
Jeez,
So,
that's great.
and then we met with the dance group as well. And actually, I met this gal from the dance group, and they explained Blata Kroj to us as well. And so this particular vest in this picture, I don't know, hopefully there's not too much of a glare, is actually, those little details on there are fish scales.
Okay.
And so in South Bohemia, there were numerous fish farms, and they raised carp. And so they would actually save the carp scales and then cut them and shape them and sew them onto the Kroj. So
It's crazy.
we did replicate that. So Megan Dominowski, who is the Miss Czechoslovak Minnesota Princess, her Blata Kroj has fish scales on the vest as well.
Okay.
So you can see a lot of the beadwork. And then if you tuned into the wedding
Yes.
live, then you'll see here's that cap, and so you can tell that that's a married lady because she has the cap and then the V-neck over there,
Sure.
over the top of it, and the mirrors to ward off evil spirits. And if you were a younger gal, like Miss Alenka would, she would in this region oftentimes wear this style of a Divka V-neck. That would have just been a band that went over, right into the hairline.
Can
as
you
well.
actually take that? Because I noticed some of the detail of the
Absolutely.
back
So
of that.
then you can see all the beadwork on there. And again, that would have went right at the hairline. And then this would have tied in the back of the head. And then, of course, it has to have the embroidery and the
course.
flitters
Sure.
that would hang down the back
Beautiful.
as well.
Very nice.
Right. And so just a simple blouse on this one too, and matching apron.
Okay.
Or hanky.
Hanky.
Yep.
Yes. Now let's talk about Alenka's.
I like this
So
right
this
here.
Kroj is Americanized. This is Blata Kroj.
Yep.
Um,
So the Blata Kroj, again, because of the rich embroidery and beadwork and things like that, it is very difficult to make. And so
Of course.
we actually found an apron from Czech, a tablecloth.
Tablecloth.
So this was an old tablecloth that we cut into an apron and gathered it. And so it has the embroidery and cut work there as well.
Sure.
And so the solid color skirts, so that oftentimes would have been, a brocade would have been more in like the Kozacko region, which is,
Okay.
again, why we consider it Americanized. It's
Sure.
American fabric, and we're kind of piecing together what we can. And then the American made blouse. But the vest is old, and that is from
yes.
Czech. And so this has the houndstooth around the racer back here to
Right
keep
here.
the evil spirits away. Yep. So these actually would have started as an actual square and then folded and then tucked in to create, again, that houndstooth.
Wow.
But the buttons on here, the small buttons, are 3-hole buttons, which are pretty unique as well. And then the flitters on the back too.
Yeah. Awesome detail.
Great.
Now, what is there something about your headpiece?
They would wear
Oftentimes unmarried women would wear flowers.
Okay.
So that big plena that we had in the wedding, they would have covered all of their hair. So
Sure.
a married woman typically covers all of her hair, where an unmarried woman might wear a crown of flowers like that or something like this one, but then they would have their hair probably pulled back or braided
Okay.
or something like that. But their hair would be exposed where,
Okay.
I don't know the reasoning behind that, but they would actually cover all of their hair with some kind of a plena or ruchik.
Great. Well, we surely enjoy seeing the traditional Kroj here in Montgomery for Kalachki weekend, which of course is coming up next weekend. And if any of you are watching this and live in drivable distance to Montgomery, Minnesota, we welcome you to come next weekend, July 23rd through the 25th. Lots of queens and princesses and former queens and princesses will be in attendance. Many of them will don their Kroj, and we hope that this session has given a little bit of insight into our Czech heritage sequence of the 12 days of checking your Czech heritage. So thank you for tuning in, and Anne and Alanka, thank you so much. Yeah.